Hey Kentucky, I wanted to do just this brief video on transcripts in our state. And I understand that transcripts are extremely boring and not something that you are particularly interested in, but give me a few minutes and I'll let you know an improvement we can make to the education system that would make a huge difference. So first, if you're not familiar with my overall logic model of how to change education in Kentucky, you can see that the two extremes are where we interact with the community, and one of those two extremes is down there with grade reporting and transcripts. And I think transcripts are overlooked too often. Everyone sees report cards. Very few people see transcripts. However, transcripts are the key. They're the ticket to the next level of the education system, and thus they have more importance than we give them credit for. So let's pass on report cards for a minute and focus on these devices, this transcript, this technology that we use to tell the story of a kid from place to place. So this particular transcript is from Kentucky. This is our sort of base model of transcript that we use. It's 2 pages. This is the first page. I'll give you a quick overview of what it does. We use this parchment system called Kentucky's II Transcript, and most schools in the state are using this for their transcripts. Now what we do on our transcript is we tell, here's what the classes are happening, the grade that's happening, and any score that may result, and we're totaling all that up into GPAs and absences down there at the bottom. We're then adding all that up in a separate section and saying how many units did we attempt in English and how many did we pass in English in all the different areas. We also spend a lot of time on our transcripts talking about how much time the kid is actually in school. Was the school kid and even enrolled in these? Which I think is, I would assume the kid was in high school for the previous 4 years, but maybe that's wrong. And then of course we're reporting ACT scores and sub-scores on those different areas. Okay, fine. Now this is a different model that I think is useful to look at. This is from Great Schools Partnership, and you can see that Maine is an area where they're focusing. This particular transcript has a lot of different sections going on. There in the middle is sort of the overlap with our existing system where we're listing the courses that the kid was taking. You can see that they're listing them out as year-long courses, and when there is a semester-based course like drama in the 2010-11 school year, you can see it's listed as semester. What I also like is that they are listed by type of course. So whether it is an honors course, an internship course, an independent study course, even a dual enrollment course, I could see other things being listed there, like this was a project-based learning course, or this was a CTE course, things like that. Also, you're seeing proficiency level instead of having the percentage and the letter grades and that kind of stuff. So over there is then an academic summary. Look at the last line of that academic summary, title of the capstone project. Now we have nothing like that on our current transcript model. As you go down, you can see additional graduation requirements, capstone project. What is the service learning requirement that the student did? What other things did your school district have that all kids needed to demonstrate before they graduated? You can put that on this model of transcript. Down at the very bottom though, I want to zoom in on that because this is super interesting. As we at NextGen have been working with school districts to develop graduate portfolios, in those graduate portfolios are these sort of core skills that we're looking to see. If you're in Jefferson County Public Schools, these are your backpack skills. Clear, effective communicator, self-directed, lifelong learner, you know these things. As we've been developing them, we're also beginning to develop competency-based assessment models where we are actually trying to determine the proficiency of a given kid on each of our graduate profile skills. And you can see where this model allows us to put a numerical value on a proficiency level. So I really like this model. I want to come back to it as I tell you about one additional model that lives out there. So we're not going to play this whole video. I just want you to know that it exists out there from the Mastery Transcript Consortium. And they lay out the whole model of what they want to see in a particular transcript. You can go check it out for yourself at mastery.org. They actually have a dozen or so videos about how they're transitioning. This is a consortium of about 150 private, very elite schools, mostly in the Northeast, that are working together to try to build a better transcript that puts their kids ahead of public school kids, for instance. So let's take a quick look at it. The base kind of model they're thinking about, and this is still under development, but this is sort of a very first draft they put out there. You can see that this model has more of a graphical interface. It's also not listing particular courses that a kid has got a grade in. It's listing particular earned credits in particular graduate profile skills. So it's really focusing on a skills-based transcript rather than a course-based transcript. Very different. Now that graphical interface there at the top is pulling some of the mastered graduate profile skills and saying, where is this kid the strongest? So in this particular transcript, you can see that this kid is super strong with honesty and integrity and also super strong on leadership, but a little bit less on the sort of habits of mind or the sort of deep thinking things or communication. So you can see maybe this kid is a really strong, honest leader, but not such a deep thinker. Gives the colleges a very different kind of picture of who a kid is, rather than this kid got a B in English. All right, I'm not proposing that we go there. The last thing I want to say from them is that when they asked admissions officers, because private schools aren't going to just randomly make mistakes, they're going to do their homework. They asked admissions officers, will our kids be hurt if we bring a transcript that looks like this instead of the more traditional transcript? Admissions officers that they talked to said no, there would be no disadvantage in the evaluation and application process for this sort of more robust transcript. Now here's the good news, Kentucky. I'm not saying we need to match what these elite private schools in the Northeast are doing with their transcripts. What I am saying, though, is that we probably need to think about a more robust transcript for our children here in Kentucky when they're having to compete against these kids who are focused much more on skills obtained and mastered during their time in high school rather than the sort of grades and credits that the kid may have earned in percentages and all the things that we're used to. I think we can have a nice combo of both. That great schools partnership model still has courses. It still has how much proficiency did we do in each of those courses, but it also has graduate profile skills. It also talks about service learning. It talks about capstone projects. It talks about internships completed, all giving a much richer, deeper vision of who a kid is in the 2 minutes that a kid has to convince a university to admit them into the next phase of their learning. Now here in Kentucky, we are at an advantage, like we frequently are, because we like to work together. So KDE and CPE have worked with also local school districts to develop a statewide transcripting system using the digital portfolio on Parchment. Parchment, I've done some homework on them. They would like to see better credentialing, more meaningful credentialing. So I think they would be a great partner to work with us here in Kentucky to develop a more meaningful transcript. Because CPE and KDE are already working together on this, it's a nice space for us to bring this question to and see if we as a state might do a better job with transcripts. I know it's small and boring. Thanks for listening though, and I hope you see that it's small steps like this, step by step by step, that's what's going to change our education system.